Good morning, viewers. You are now watching Hornbill TV's newsroom with me, your anchor Kekrizanyo Solo. Today's topic of discussion is an extremely important and a need of the hour, and that is sex education. It's also a very sensitive and sometimes tends to be controversial topic, but as one should know, the vital role of comprehensive sexual education for children and young people should no longer be a debate since it's a necessity. As research shows, equipping youth with the knowledge, skills and values surrounding sexuality not only fosters healthier relationships, but also empowers them to make informed choices. With backing from organizations like the United Nations, these educational programs are designed to be age-appropriate and scientifically accurate, addressing essential topics such as consent, reproductive health and emotional well-being. Join us as we explore how effective sexual education can lead to positive health outcomes and safer future for our youth. We will now be joined by our Associate Editor L. Nguli to discuss on this. Good morning, L.
Good morning.
Hello, L. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. L, as we begin our discussion on this much needed topic, I'd like to first ask you what your core outlook on this is.
During the 80s, I think there was a conversation within the community about including sex education in the educational system of the state. And I remember way back during a conversation, I was also a member or visiting member of the syllabus committee, where I was invited to be part of the academicians who were to set the NCERT syllabus for, I think it was 2009 or 2018, I forgot, but it was in Kohima. So among the topics that we informally during interactions that we were discussing about was whether Nagaland should actually start engaging in conversation in the academic platform, sex education, and how to give students lessons where they can make choices that are informed and that can help them in the future, because the whole idea of sex education till now has been considered a space that we should not intrude in, and this is because of the stigma involved, yes, and of course there are questions and angles of morality involved. So that is the reason why I believe that we are still not yet to have this conversation in the academic circle, so to say. So personally, I think it should be part of our community conversations. It should be part of the knowledge apparatus that is the schools and the colleges. Definitely this is something that we need, because this is a lesson that will have an everyday impact on the life of that person as long as he lives. So personally, yes, why not? I think it is about time that we really have an academic angle to sex education. And I'm not saying we should just go in right there with a moral cause or even with an academic inspiration just because it is required. There are also a lot of dangers. For example, in the United States, especially in the United States, it's a cesspool of gender wars, toxic genderism, and with all these sexual liberalist thoughts that is permeating the people, influencing young people, it has come to a point where I'm sure you have read it too. Like almost there is everyday controversy. Young people, children are being taught to engage in or encouraged to engage in sexual acts with persons of the same gender, for example, or young people as young as 5 or 6 years old are taught about sexual intercourse. They are taught about how to masturbate, and I'm not making this up. This is the truth that we are facing. So there are a lot of dangers in it where we put in our own subjective inputs to what sex is, what sexuality is, what sex education is. So there is a danger of being twisted out of context and manipulating the system for your need, for your selfish interests, or for the selfish interests of a certain group of people in the community. So these are some of the dangers that we have to see and examine and study thoroughly, so that if one day we come at a point of time where we have sex education that do not really go into the graphic sides of the conversation, but about the educated ideas that they can have to inform their choices later on in the future at an academic level at least, then I think, like I said, it is something that we should be, it is a topic that we should be talking about openly also.
All right, El, you've just mentioned that it should be a topic that's part of our daily conversation, educational topic. But coming from a society like ours, it's safe to say it's a very conservative society. And at times that leads to the societal pressure of, making such topics a taboo. So how would you navigate that in today's present generation? Like, do you think we are our people and we are ready for such open discussions? Because all these things, I believe, start from the family. So do you think our people were ready for such kind of sensitive and also at times controversial topic of discussions?
Yeah, I think the Naga people have moved and achieved a lot of milestones during the past 60 years. We have moved forward. We are progressing in most of the aspects of our lives, be it education, be it development. And I am not speaking of development or progress in terms of the industrialization of our life, how the commercial aspects of our life have been changed and moving forward compared to how it was 20, 30 years ago. I'm just saying that we have come a little bit of a distance comparatively, but as you said, to some point, the society is still conservative, and I think it has to do with our moral system, which is not a bad thing, which is actually a very good assurance, which is actually a good surety and a protection for the way of life that we lead. Like I said, in the Western countries, somehow the idea of being conservative is seen as something negative, something that holds you back from moving forward. And that is the reason exactly why the gender wars are happening in the West. Why the whole idea of sexual liberalism is so deep and so high, it is starting to destroy the society. Abortions are there, gender wars are there, you have welfare policies that cannot address unwanted pregnancies. We have teenage mothers out there on the streets, the number of teenage homelessness. All these issues are interrelated. They all play a part in this one single community of people that were, to some level, were not ruled by a moral compass, so to say. So for Nagaland, relatively for now, there is a higher level of adherence to the moral systems that we believe in. We believe that our children should follow them. So it gives us some kind of a protection for that. So I believe to be conservative, and many people think conservative is being orthodox, you wear sackcloth and live under the rock in some cave somewhere 70 kilometers away from the town. You don't you don't believe in technology, you don't believe in governments, you are practically a hermit. When we talk of being conservative, people see us backward. When in fact to be conservative is to have some kind of a moral character to your choices, to have a moral nature to your decision making, because everything in the world, as I think it is written in the Bible also, everything is in this world is permissible. You can do anything you want because the freedom and the free will is given to you. But not everything is beneficial. I can eat the rocks out there lying on the streets. Nobody can stop me. And if I want to die, that's okay. I can eat the rocks. But eating the rock, using my freedom to eat the rock, will not give me health. It is going to destroy my health. So those are some of the things. Who stops you from, we cannot stop people from sleeping around. It's their choice. But that choice is also going to give rise to consequences. So I think to be conservative is actually, I think it's a badge of honor, because today we are young people. We can do whatever we want, but one day we are going to have children, a family of our own. So what lessons are we going to teach them? Because we were not, when we were young, in that space where we were able to make informed choices out of moral natures that we claim to have in being conservative. So I think, to be fair, being conservative or being liberal does not really speak about the consequences that our children will suffer if there is no lesson in place that we can instruct them. So to be fair, I think these are conversations, like I said before, we should be holding.
All right, Al, a study conducted by the Population Council in 2019 found that only 25% of adolescents in Northeast India have basic knowledge about sexual and reproductive health, leading to misinformation and confusion. How do you think this should be or can be navigated towards a better solution, given that we come from Northeast as well, and I've just mentioned, like, we come from a society that's a German-shaped society. So in general, people are still very narrow-minded when it comes to this kind of discussions. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think the numbers about unwanted pregnancies in India, and also the numbers of abortions in India over the past about 5 years would give a very good idea of why we should be having conversations like this. I think it was way back in 2015 that India reported an estimated 15.6 million abortions. So I'm saying estimated because even right now in India, there are no hard statistics, no mechanism to check and track abortions in India. So if we look at the numbers, it's quite high, and it will not only be Northeast, but across India and maybe even across the world, because of the lack of information that our youths could not have access to, or because they were not taught. That is why we are suffering the consequences now. So how do we navigate this? I think it is a very complex and a challenging problem that will need a complex set of consultative discussions, a complex set of ideas to come together to arrive at a solution. And I'm not qualified to speak on that, but personally, I think the family is where everything starts. If even the knowledge apparatus of the society, the schools, the research communities, the academic communities, and the colleges, even if they are not able to come up with an answer, at least in terms of academy, then I think the family is a very good place to start. When we were growing up, we were always told, you know, don't always mingle with girls. And girls were told not to mingle too much with boys, for example. We were told to get married only after 18 or 20 years. We were told that to have, to engage in sexual activity only with your partner after marriage is a good thing. And we were also told to not have too many partners, for example, or at least that was what I was told. I was told to remain pure, for instance. So those were the kind of lessons I think Naga families used to have those days to impart to their children. So I think the family is a very important player in this, because the children being given these lessons will carry these lessons their whole life, and it is going to subconsciously, very subtly, subconsciously influence their choices later on also.
True that, Al.
So I think this is something. I am not saying the family is perfect. I'm not saying the family is perfect. I'm just saying the family is the right place to start, because once you're 18, you're out of your family life. You're going to join an institution that is going to teach you something you have never heard before from your mother's mouth, from your father's mouth, from your uncles. So I think the way, at least the first step to navigating through the conversations that we find it difficult to talk openly in the community, sex, sexuality, sex education, abortion, unwanted pregnancies, those kind of conversations we cannot have. I think we can start from the family. And if there are about 2 million people in Nagaland, if at least 1 million families in Nagaland would start talking openly about all these issues, hey, what can we do? What can the academicians do? What can the government do? And this is not just about the family. It involves everyone. If we can start the conversation there, I think the chances of taking this conversation from here to there progressively toward a solution is much, much higher than it would be from starting from the government and college and syllabus level, bringing it to the family. No, that is not going to work. It should start with the family.
Right, El. Since we're running out of time, I'd like to ask you a very important question. Now that we're talking about this, why is it really important to talk to young people about sexual education? I know you've mentioned some points and some factors now, but the sexuality and about their sexual health.
It is very important compared to other age groups that we talk to the young people first, the 15 to 18 generation, the 18 to 25 generation, and at least till the 30 generation. It is important for us to engage with the youth first, because this youth is the only, this group is the only group that has higher chances of making mistakes. And I'm not saying that they're stupid or dull or they have no wisdom or experience. I'm not. Because right now, their feelings, their choices in life are all based on their feelings. And the limited outlook gives them limited space to exercise whatever option is given to them within that space. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, they stand around somewhere maybe 8 or 9, I don't know, judging from the mistakes that I've made. I think they have a higher level of mistakes than the adults when it comes to, at least in areas of sex or sexuality. So I think we should go to and start with the youth.
Al, when exactly should sexual education really begin? Like you've mentioned an age bar just now, but is there a right or accurate age limit to this? Because there was a video that went viral some few years back about a kindergarten teacher in the US teaching the small children in the kindergarten students about their private parts and sexual education overall, but it went viral and people had a very negative and also mixed reaction to the video, and many people, a majority of the people were against it because these are kindergarten students we're talking about. So does it defile their innocence when these topics are openly discussed with them? So is there a right age or an accurate age limit to this?
I'm not qualified to speak in that regard, but I think what people agree is that they should be able to, the pupils, the children should be able to receive only information they can process. I think this is very important in this regard. I also saw, I think it was a British newspaper that carried a story about how teachers in certain states in the United States were teaching children, 5-6-year-old children, to masturbate, how to, please members of the other sex, and it's horrifying. These people don't know a pressure cooker from a coffee maker. They don't know whether to use the soap or the toothpaste to brush their teeth, but they are being taught sexual activities. So I think it's horrible, and personally, no. I think we should start at 18 or maybe 17, where they are able to comprehend information that they can relate it when they have started developing their bodies. So I would personally, 18 and 17 is where we should start.
With all this, do you think, we'll speed up the conversation a little since we're running out of time, but with all this, do you think sex, am I audible, Al?
Yes, you
yeah,
are.
With all this, do you think sex education can help prevent sexual abuse? You've mentioned about abortion, and it's obvious, it's not even a matter of discussion anymore, because it's obvious that the lack of sexual education leads to the shame and the stigmatization women feel in a society, to the point where, we have a very recent incident that happened. And I will not go into the details because you're aware, but the recent incident that happened where a newly born baby was killed by its own mother. And it all happens, it comes down to the stigmatization and the shame of it. So, having said that, does sex education, can it prevent sexual abuse as well? When you're teaching your kid about bad touch and good touch, because most of the kids are not aware about it. It's only starting now. In this Gen Z generation, it has only started now. Growing up, though I'm also a Gen Z, growing up, most of us were not taught about the good touch and the bad touch. It's somehow in the social media, if you see in social media, the trend is slowly starting now. People are embracing this education more. So do you think with all the sexual abuse, regardless of the gender, that's going on right now, currently, do you think sex education can actually prevent sexual abuse as well?
I'm not qualified to give an opinion in this regard, but I think when we talk of sex education, we are trying to bring in all the different and diverse components of human living. That is, it could be about sexuality, it could be about abuse, it could be, most importantly, about respect. I think we have sex education in various forms, at least socially also, where we engage with each other about how to treat men and women, but not at an academic level where we are taught how to treat people right. So I think it all comes down to respect, teaching our children respect, and starting from there. Otherwise, only one subject will not qualify the solution of another subject or a problem, and one problem will also not justify the solution of a totally different problem again. So we cannot interchange the two. It could be sex education, it could be respect for the genders, for men and women, as you have said, irrespective, because we see abuse, for example, or sexual crimes. We see abuse only in terms of sex. but we don't see abuse in terms of, let's say, mental abuse, harassment at home, the workplace, relationships. We don't see abuse in the schools the way we would look at sexual crimes, for instance. So there are a lot of complexities here for which we cannot use one problem to define another solution, and vice versa. So I think it will be difficult, but to some level, sex education in its form can also teach our youngsters to respect our women, our men.
All right, Elle, one more question. While the National Curriculum Framework, NCF, recommends the inclusion of life skills and sexuality education in schools, implementation remains somewhat inconsistent across states, including, this comes from a study, those in the Northeast as well. What do you have to say on this?
I don't think they have implemented that right, because I have not come across that. Was it not National Education Policy 2021?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, okay. No, I think it's too early for the policy NEP 2021 to be implemented across the states right now. It's just about 2 years now. So I think it will take a lot of time before the nectar, the core part of the intentions and the vision of the document will take a long time for it to be implemented and for us to see its fruits. So I think we'll have to wait it out a bit.
Research also shows that adolescents who receive comprehensive sex education are more likely to delay sexual activity and use contraceptive effectively. So this can significantly reduce the rates of unintended pregnancies and STIs as well. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely. I think that is the whole point of the conversation that we have been having today. Sex education will definitely, like you said, it is definitely going to give the individual a lot of moral space for them to make choices that are very informed. So definitely it will mean that kids know not only the problem it is going to cause, they also know that if they have been taught well in the schools, in the family, then they're going to make choices that will also force them to navigate away from possible consequences of their actions. So yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you so much, Elle, for joining us today and discussing on this very important topic.
Thank you.
There are lot more to discuss, but we'll wrap it up from here. But before I conclude, I'd like to state some few points. A study published in the Indian journal Community Medicine indicated that awareness of sexually transmitted infections, STIs, among adolescents is alarmingly low, with only 29% of young people aware of common STIs and their prevention. The National Crime Records Bureau NCRB reported 30,000 cases of child sexual abuse in India in 2019. Comprehensive sex education that includes discussions on consent and bodily autonomy is critical for addressing these issues. And according to a 2021 report by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, only 38% of young people aged 15 to 24 received any form of formal sex education, highlighting the need for improved access to comprehensive programs. In Northeast India, cultural factors often impede open discussions about sexual health. A 2019 study found that more than 70% of adolescents in the region lack adequate sexual knowledge about sexual and reproductive health. Studies also indicate that comprehensive sex education can lead to a reduction in adolescents' pregnancies and STIs, contributing to improved overall health and socio-economic outcomes for young people. In conclusion, comprehensive sexual education is essential for empowering young people with the knowledge and skills they need to navigate their health and relationships safely. By fostering an understanding and respect, we can help our youth make informed choices and protect their rights. As we've seen, the benefits extend far beyond individual health and influencing the well-being of entire communities. It's crucial that we advocate for and implement effective sexuality education programs tailored to the needs of our young people. Thank you for joining us today. And with this, let's continue to support the next generation in leading a healthier and safer life. Thank you for watching Hornbill TV.